Getting a job today is more competitive than ever. This market is terrible. So when you do interview, you need to crush it. In today's video, I'm going to give you 5 strategic tips to help you land your next job and nail your job interview. Let's go. Okay, so first strategy is the likability strategy. Look, it is more important than ever to be likable in an interview. I recently read an article that cited a study that Microsoft did. And Microsoft did this with LinkedIn. And basically, if the person who is interviewing you would describe you as having a good personality, you are 12 times more likely to get a job offer than if they would not do that. Think about that, 12 times. When I first read that, I thought to myself, if there was an outcome I wanted to achieve and anything would give me a 12 times more likely probability of having success, I would do just about anything. So when you're looking to get a job, when you're looking to nail your interview, it is critically important that they consider you to be the type of person who has a good personality. So you need to connect with them. Mimic their behaviors, so talk in a similar tone of voice, mimic their body language. Try to notice things in the background, right? If you're in their office interviewing and you see pictures, on their desk, make comments about it, try to connect with them, do research on them, go to their LinkedIn, see if they went to the same school or they have some of the same interests. You need to try to connect with person. Likability is an incredibly effective strategy if you want to nail your interview and get a job offer. By the way, one of the things you can't do is you can't forget something. You can't forget to do something prior to your interview. I made a checklist. If you go down to the pinned comment, it's there. Click on that. You'll get it for free. And it's basically just a checklist of all the things you need to do prior to your interview to make sure you don't blow it by forgetting something that you could easily just get from this list. That is free. The next is the storyteller strategy. Storytelling is incredibly important because storytelling allows you to be memorable. So it's important to craft compelling stories. One of the things I tell people to do is I want you to think about the 4 or 5 most impressive things you have done in your career. Then I want you to take the time to actually write these things down, but write them down in a way that you'll remember the important details. So write them down, talk about the entire project, and then add the details. How long did it take? What were the challenges you faced along the way? What were the key decisions you made? What was the success of it? What was the net impact on the business? If you could do it differently, what would it be? If you could do something differently, what would that thing be? But write down all the details of it so when you're in an interview, you are prepared to tell these stories in a compelling way. Practice talking about these achievements. So when you tell them, they come across as smooth, they come across as cohesive, they come across as impactful. Being a storyteller and being able to storytell the impactful things you've done in your career can make a huge difference on whether or not you get a job offer. The culture fit strategy. One of the strategies I would always do is I would deeply familiarize myself with that company's culture. And I do this in 2 primary ways, right? I would go to their website, I would go to the About Us, and I would read every single word on the About Us page. Because that is who that company is trying to be, or who they are, or both, right? They might have their values there, their mission there. There's a ton of information you can glean from a company's About Us page that will tell you who they truly are. Now, the next thing I would do is I would look at their social media, specifically LinkedIn and YouTube if they have it, or Instagram, right? Look at these things and try to understand what makes a person a good fit for this company. And then work to incorporate some of those things that you learn from your research into who you are as a candidate, right? You can talk about their values. If one of their values is excellence, right? And you're in an interview and they say, okay, why are you interested in working for our company? You can say, well, one of the things that really resonated with me about your company's website is on your values, excellence being one of your values. I'm the type of person who strives to be excellent at everything I do. So aligning myself with a company that fits so closely to my values would be a great fit. What you did right there is you just positioned yourself as an actual culture fit for the company in the interview. Before you even start, they're going to look at you and be like, that is a person who would fit with our culture. So do your research and apply it that way. Now, the next thing I want you to use is the over-researched strategy. What does this mean? Well, generally speaking, when people interview for a company, on average, they spend like 15 minutes doing research, right? They go, look, I can do the job. That should be enough. I'm going to go into the interview. But if you spend a ton of time researching and truly understanding the organization, it puts you at an advantage because then you truly know what they're about, you know what the job's about, you know the direction of the company. So what I always tell people to do is go to the website. Definitely familiarize yourself with the website. Go to the About Us, like we just talked about. Familiarize yourself with that. Familiarize yourself with their story. Familiarize yourself with their product and services. Beyond that, go to Google, type in the company's name, go to news, and then read articles about the company. You can reference what you learn in articles during the interview, and you're just going to come across as someone who is incredibly prepared, incredibly prepared and incredibly informed. There is not a single HR person, hiring manager, or recruiter who doesn't really appreciate a well-researched candidate, and you can be that person. Now, the next strategy I want you to use is the I already know the answers strategy. What is this? Well, what that means is you are prepared to, beyond a shadow of a doubt, nail the questions that they are most likely to ask, right? When you go into an interview, let's just say they are going to ask you 15 questions. Well, you already know what 5 of them are. And if you already know them, there is no excuse for you not to nail these interview questions. And if you're saying right now as you're listening, Ben, I don't know what those questions are, well, guess what? They're the most commonly asked questions in the interview. It's why I made this video here. This video here literally gives you the most commonly asked questions that they could ask you in an interview, and I teach you how to answer them from a recruiter's perspective. This is the type of video that you should watch over and over and over again, because if you can truly familiarize yourself with these answers, you're going to give yourself a massive advantage. I will see you over there.